Intelligence loses when it assumes the world is rational. Dark psychology wins because it knows the world is human. The mind that calculates is quick, but the mind that compels is quicker. Machiavelli understood that people are moved by appearances more than proofs. He studied not how men should be, but how they are under pressure. The clever seek truth. The cunning sculpt perception. The scholar gathers facts. The strategist organizes feelings. What feels true defeats what is true when urgency bites. Dark psychology outsmarts the smart by steering the emotional currents beneath logic. It whispers to bias, and bias gladly overrules the brightest conclusions. You can ace the test and still fail the room. You can be right and still lose the throne. Power answers to influence, not to correctness. People do not vote with data. They vote with tension, fear, and hope. They do not follow the sharpest mind. They follow the steadiest frame. Frames are invisible cages that make the tiger sit. A frame is a story about what this moment means. Whoever sets the first meaning often sets the last outcome. The smart mind sees options. The dark mind decides the stage. Machiavelli would tell you that optics are leverage. He would tell you that image is a weapon, lacquered in virtue. He would tell you that reputation precedes arguments, like cavalry precedes infantry. The learned man enters with facts. The powerful man enters with atmosphere. Atmosphere is the invisible gravity that pulls choices toward a pre-selected center. When atmosphere is heavy with certainty, counter-arguments suffocate. The intelligent expect discussion. The manipulator manufactures consensus. Consensus is rarely discovered. It is engineered with timing and tone. Timing is the art of making inevitability arrive early. Tone is the shape of power in the ear. Harsh truths, spoken calmly, feel safer than frantic facts. Calmness is a crown worn without jewels. Silence is a command that does not raise its voice. Machiavelli knew the power of measured quiet. Silence forces others to fill the space with their fears. Fear is a sculptor that carves compliance from certainties. The smart mind thinks it says enough by being right. Dark psychology says enough by being unreadable. Unreadability is a fortress no one knows how to besiege. The obvious man is a road. The enigmatic man is a maze. Mazes waste energy. Fatigued minds accept guidance. Guidance feels like safety. Safety invites surrender. The clever chase approval. The sovereign grants it selectively. Selective approval is perceived as value, and value commands pursuit. When you price your attention, others pay in allegiance. When you give it freely, they pay with boredom. Dark psychology exploits the economics of attention. Attention is the most inflationary currency in public life. Where attention floods, value deflates. Where attention rations, desire multiplies. Scarcity is desire's favorite costume. Machiavelli never worshipped scarcity, but he weaponized it. He withheld access so that his presence could rule from absence. Absence that is chosen makes presence look royal. To outsmart the smart, control what is felt before facts are read. To control what is felt, control what is seen before words are heard. The first frame is the first victory. If you are not framing, you are being framed. The intelligent man explains. The influential man defines. Definitions are handcuffs that look like bracelets. When people accept your definition, they accept your direction. Direction is accepted when you appear inevitable. Inevitability is a costume stitched from momentum and myth. Momentum is not movement, it is perceived destiny. Myth is not falsehood, it is simplified memory with a crown. Dark psychology compresses complexity into symbols that travel faster than paragraphs. Symbols bypass skepticism by speaking the language of the gut. The gut overrules the courtroom of the mind in emergencies. Create emergencies and logic evacuates the building. The manipulator does not ask for trust, he engineers urgency. Urgency is the siren that escorts weak ideas past strong defenses. The smart get trapped defending truth while decisions sprint past them. Machiavelli studied the theater of necessity. He knew people excuse anything that feels required for stability. If you promise order, they forgive the strings. If you promise safety, they trade liberties like loose coins. He would tell you to appear severe in crisis and soft in calm. Severity in storm feels like competence. Softness in peace feels like benevolence. Rotate between both, and you become father and fortress. The clever man is consistent. The cunning man is coherent. Consistency demands sameness. Coherence demands alignment with the moment. Alignment with the moment is the essence of effective deception. Not lies, angles. Not fraud, framing. Not cruelty, cold understanding of incentives. Dark psychology audits incentives with a butcher's focus. It asks, what do they fear, crave, envy, avoid, idolize? It asks, who do they need to be in public? It asks, What would make them choose my outcome and call it theirs? The brightest minds forget that identity outvotes evidence. If a fact humiliates identity, identity will prosecute the fact. Defend identities, and your ideas are smuggled in as friendly guests. Challenge identities, and your ideas are searched at the gate. Machiavelli would nod at this and sharpen the blade of flattery. Flattery is not praise, it is permission. It is the golden stamp that lets you enter a guarded temple. Praise the virtue they want to embody, and they will perform it for you. Call them brave, and they will risk for you. Call them just, and they will punish your enemies. Call them discerning, and they will choose your option to prove it. The wise librarian of the mind knows these are biases with names. Authority bias crowns uniforms and titles as truth. Halo effect paints one good trait across every act. Reciprocity traps gratitude into obligation. Commitment bias chains today's choice to yesterday's self-image. Anchoring sticks the first number to every later judgment. Social proof turns crowds into compasses. Framing converts facts into fates. Priming greases the rails of expectation. These are not tricks, these are human defaults under stress. The intelligent often assume they are exceptions to the human condition. Dark psychology assumes no one is. That humility is its ruthless advantage. It operates beneath reason at the level where choices are born. If you command birth, you do not need to command adulthood. Control the womb of interpretation, and you control the life of decisions. Machiavelli said, to appear merciful, faithful, humane, upright, and religious. He never said to be all of them, always. He said to appear. Appearance is not hypocrisy. It is armor in a world of quick knives. The righteous may refuse armor and call it purity. The victorious wear armor and call it prudence. Purity without power becomes a museum exhibit. Power without prudence becomes a monster others conspire to drag down. Dark psychology is not about cruelty. It is about control of levers. Levers are those touches that move disproportionate weight. A word at the right moment outweighs 100 reports. A pause at the right second crushes a rival's argument. A strategic apology captures more ground than a defensive sermon. A staged concession weakens their guard for your decisive cut. The smart defend positions. The strategist wins spaces. Positions are cliffs. Spaces are horizons. Own the horizon and cliffs crumble into sand. The intelligent count facts. The cunning count forces. Facts describe. Forces decide. Force is generated by narrative, network, and need. Narrative tells people who they are and where they must go. Network turns belief into a marching order. Need fuels the march with urgency or hunger. If you supply narrative, network, and need, you own the weather. Storms you create drown other arguments. Sunlight you create grows loyalty in your garden. Machiavelli observed that fortune favors the bold and the prepared. Boldness intimidates opposition into self-censorship. Preparation turns fortune into schedule. Dark psychology prepares the battlefield of meaning before the debate begins. It scouts for loyalties, fears, taboos, and trophies. It marks where envy sleeps and where pride stands guard. Envy is the most patient saboteur in the room. It smiles, nods, and drills tiny holes in your hull. The smart crave recognition, and envy harvests that hunger. Crave less recognition, and envy starves like a parasite without a host. The unreadable do not feed parasites, they feed myths. A myth about you that you curate is safer than rumors that others author. Mystery turns ordinary qualities into rumored excellence. Rumor travels faster than curriculum vitae. Let rumor do the heavy lifting while you do the heavy thinking. Machiavelli would advise the architect's temperament. Build foundations invisibly and facades visibly. Foundations are alliances, leverage points, secrets and exits. Facades are rituals, ceremonies, symbols and scripts. The public learns from your theater, the private learns from your traps. Set traps not for people, but for probabilities. Set conditions that make betrayal cost more than fidelity. Set conditions that make your absence felt and your presence feared. Fear, rightly calibrated, is obedience without orders. Adoration, rightly calibrated, is loyalty without contracts. Alternate between both, and you become necessary. Necessity outvotes resistance even in the clever. Dark psychology does not overuse cruelty. It overuses calibration. Too much fear breeds conspiracies. Too much love breeds entitlement. Balance them, and you govern the temperature of the room. Govern temperature and storms obey you. Temperature is frame's cousin, mood's governor, consent's thermometer. Keep it cool when rivals ignite, and onlookers trust your fireproof calm. Calm men look like truth, even when they say little. Say less, and the mind supplies more in your favor. The imagination is a better salesperson than any speech. Give it fragments, and it will write epics about your competence. Give it everything, and it will grow bored, suspicious, or hostile. Machiavelli would never drown you in explanations. He would let consequence teach, while he stood nearby like fate. Fate is the brand name of consistent outcomes. Deliver outcomes, and you can rename vice as necessity. Deliver outcomes, and you can baptize ambition as vision. Deliver outcomes, and critics become historians who arrive late. Smart men argue with terms, dark minds rename the dictionary. Name the game and you win even when you lose a point. Losing points can be theater to win players. Theater is not fake, it is focused truth told with design. Design makes memory sticky, and memory makes influence durable. Durability matters more than brilliance. A dull blade that never breaks kills more than a jewel blade that shatters. Therefore be flexible steel, not fragile genius. Dark psychology is flexible because it worships results, not rituals. It changes masks without changing mission. It changes roads without changing destination. It changes tone without changing throne. Machiavelli never confused virtue with victory, yet he respected both. He understood that ethics scale when authority stabilizes. He saw that chaos makes saints irrelevant and devils inevitable. Thus he taught the choreography of order. Order is the mother of persuasion. Disorder births arguments. Order births obedience. The intelligent believe arguments produce order. The strategic believe order produces arguments that win themselves. Win the order, and the facts line up to salute you. This is why dark psychology outsmarts the smart. It sequences power correctly. It places perception before proof, leverage before labor, timing before talent. It places survival above pride and sovereignty above applause. The clever man wants to be understood. The sovereign insists on being obeyed. Obedience is not tyranny when it guards a just design. Discipline looks like tyranny to the undisciplined. Structure looks like oppression to the chaotic, but structure saves the fragile from their storms. Machiavelli's genius was to advise rulers to look human, not holy. Holy men are crucified. Human leaders are tolerated. Toleration is enough space for mastery to grow. Grow mastery, and you can afford mercy without losing spine. Mercy is strongest where punishment is believed possible. Punishment is strongest where mercy is known probable. Both together create governance without constant blood. Dark psychology, rightly practiced, is not villainy, but vigilance. It watches the animal in the human with unsentimental eyes. It recognizes that the lion sleeps beneath law books and diplomas. It speaks to the lion first, so the scholar can speak safely later. The wise blend lion and fox, heart and mask, steel and silk. The silk greets the room, the steel negotiates the terms. Negotiate terms before you negotiate details. He who sets terms writes destinies in invisible ink. Intelligence solves problems. Dark strategy prevents them from appearing. The best victory is the silent one that looks like consensus. Make it their idea, and you own it forever. Machiavelli smiles at the man who wins and lets others narrate. Let them claim credit publicly while your private goals march forward. Credit buys applause. Control buys tomorrow. Trade applause for control, and you will never beg a crowd again. The smart often need witnesses for their brilliance. The strategic need only results for their memory. History remembers outcomes more than philosophies. Be the cause of outcomes, and philosophers will come to interpret you. The mind that understands this becomes unplayable by praise or blame. Praise cannot inflate him. Blame cannot puncture him. He stands like weathered stone, reshaping the river that runs around him. Dark psychology teaches this detachment without announcing it. Detachment reduces leverage others have on your mood and choices. Without leverage on your mood, they have little leverage on your moves. Control mood, control meaning, control movement and destiny. Looks handcrafted. This is the Machiavellian spine beneath every successful facade. Smile when it buys time. Frown when it buys space. Vanish when it buys fear. Return when the room begs for your clarity. Never argue for your indispensability. Demonstrate it with a solved crisis. Solve in silence. Let rumors handle your marketing. Reputation is the shadow cast by repeated competence. Keep repeating and the shadow thickens into legend. Legends make ordinary instructions sound like prophecies. Prophecies draw followers who enforce your frame for free. When others enforce your frame, you become a system, not a person. Systems are harder to kill than personalities. That is why dark psychology builds structures, not merely moments. Moments seduce, structures govern. Seduction invites entry, governance forbids exit. If they cannot leave without losing face, they will stay and justify. Cognitive dissonance will rebrand your rule as their choice. Let their mind protect your throne to protect itself. This is the deepest trick of all, and it is not a trick. It is alignment between their self-story and your architecture. Aligned stories and resistance melts into routine. Routine becomes culture, and culture becomes destiny with a friendly smile. Machiavelli would advise you to cultivate gardeners, not guards. Gardeners grow narratives and harvest loyalties. Guards only react when growth has been neglected. Tend the roots of meaning, and your citadel needs fewer walls. The intelligent will inspect your arguments. The persuaded will defend your empire. Give the intelligent a respectable balcony in your theater. Give the persuaded the stage. The balcony will applaud. The stage will carry you. Carry others, and they will insist you are necessary. Necessity is the highest office in human affairs. Dark psychology campaigns silently for that office by understanding the electorate within each soul. It wins not with threats, but with clocks. It tells time so well that every alternative seems late. When alternatives arrive late, even geniuses sign your plan. This is how the cunning outmaneuvers the clever. This is how the fox escorts the lion through the city without a roar. This is how a prince rules a crowd that thinks it chose. Be the prince of meanings, and facts will wear your colors. Be the master of timing, and rivals will work on your schedule. Be the steward of calm, and storms will advertise your leadership. Remember that power is not possessed. It is renewed daily. Renew it by unlearning vanity and relearning leverage. Leverage is the art of moving the world with a fingertip on the right hinge. Hinges are people's fears, hopes, and reputations. Touch them lightly, and doors open without splinters. Kick them, and you may enter once but bleed forever. Machiavelli instructs the surgeon's hand, not the butcher's lust. Cut only what you must to save the body of your order. Then stitch with rituals, reward with dignity, and polish the narrative. In the end, dark psychology outsmarts the smart because it respects the human animal. It honors the truth that logic rides on the back of feeling. It navigates that animal with reins of story, mask and measure. It bows to results and kneels to none. Walk this path with ethics as your compass and clarity as your lantern. Use these forces to defend what is worthy, not to vandalize trust. When sovereignty meets responsibility, power becomes medicine, not poison. Be sovereign enough to be gentle and dangerous enough to be calm. Let your restraint be a rumor and your capacity be a myth. Stand unreadable, act inevitable, and speak only when silence has done its work. Then watch as the brightest minds follow the quietest gravity and understand, finally, why the Machiavellian sees what the academic forgets. Because in the theater of power, the curtain opens for actors, not analysts. Be both, but perform as the former and prepare as the latter. This is the script that outpaces intellect with insight. This is the discipline of shaping the room before you enter it. And this is why dark psychology, constrained by conscience, still outsmarts the smart. For the world bends first to the hand that frames it, and the throne, in every age, is built from meanings mortals cannot refuse. Be the author of those meanings, and you will not need applause. You will own the hour, the crowd, and the conversation that decides tomorrow. Move in silence, design in daylight, and let outcomes speak your true name. That is the Machiavellian craft that hides a king inside a whisper. Practice it with honor, and you will never beg intellect to save you. For intellect will come, dressed in your colors, and call you inevitable. And inevitability, once worn, is the final persuasion. Wear it lightly, rule yourself fiercely, and everything else falls in line. Thus the smart will calculate while you calibrate. They will debate while you design. They will argue while you arrange. And when the room stands, it will be for the one who framed it. Let that be you, calm, unreadable, sovereign, exactly as Machiavelli would prefer.